Welcome back. Today we're covering something that trips up a lot of new tax deed investors: how to actually get a clear title after you've won a property at a tax deed auction. Let's start with what happens right after you win. The county transfers the property to you using some form of deed, usually a quitclaim deed, sometimes a treasurer's deed or a sheriff's deed, depending on the state you're working in. Here's the catch. That deed is full of disclaimers. The county is handing you ownership, but they're explicitly refusing to take responsibility for anything wrong with the property, and they're refusing to take responsibility for the title itself. That might not seem like a big deal on day one. But the moment you try to resell that property, it becomes a real problem, because your buyer is going to want a clear title, and what you're holding isn't one. So why does this happen in the first place? It goes back to why the property ended up at auction. Somewhere along the line, the previous owner stopped paying their property taxes. Every county requires this, and when someone doesn't pay, the treasurer is required to levy the tax, attempt to collect, and eventually seize the property if payment never comes. But before that happened, the property might have carried 2 or 3 different mortgages. It might have had judgments against it from lawsuits. The county wipes the slate clean when they sell it at auction, but wiping the slate clean administratively doesn't make those old claims legally disappear. Former lien holders or parties to old lawsuits can still resurface down the road. So how do you actually fix this? You hire a real estate attorney. Ideally someone with real experience in tax deed work, not someone straight out of law school. That attorney will run what's called a quiet title action. This is a legal process where they essentially have to notify, and in some cases sue, anyone who might still have a competing claim to the property, in order to clear those claims permanently. Expect this to cost somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, and take 3 to 6 months. Given that most tax deed buyers are picking up properties for 10 to 20 cents on the dollar, that cost is usually well worth it in the end. There's also an alternative some investors use. Instead of clearing the title right away, you sell the property on a contract of sale. You act as the bank. You collect payments over time, often several years, and because you still legally hold the property, you don't need to clear the title immediately. You can pursue the quiet title action later, once it's actually needed. Now, 2 quick things worth understanding as you go deeper into this. First, what is a warranty deed? This is the deed typically used in a standard sale between private parties, once a title is already clear. Historically, the seller warranted that everything about the property was in good standing. That's where the name comes from. In practice today, that warranty doesn't carry much real legal weight, which is exactly why title insurance exists. The name has stuck around, but the actual guarantee behind it is mostly a formality now. Second, is the previous owner still on the property after a tax auction? It depends on the state. In some states, occupants are required to vacate before the sale even happens, and the county may hold off on the sale for 6 months or more to allow for that. In other states, the previous owner might still be living there at the time you take ownership. If that happens, you'll typically need to go through a formal eviction process, proper legal notice, followed by law enforcement removal if it comes to that. In more complicated cases, this can take up to about 60 days. That's the full picture on getting a clear title after a tax deed purchase. If this was helpful, let us know in the comments, and we'll keep covering more of these state-by-state details in future videos.